said, she said. Hi, Tommy. How are you?
Hey, Steph, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. Welcome to 2022.
We're here.
We said we were going to start off the new year with a bang, and here we go right away. Second day of the new year, and we're already doing a show. That is amazing.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So we have guests from Minnesota on the show tonight. I'd like to introduce everybody to Russ and Mark from Search for Spirits or Search for Sasquatch. Hi, guys. Welcome to the He Said, She Said show.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, hello.
Yes.
Hey, guys.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
So we've had a lot of guests on our show, but you guys are the first from the land of 10,000 lakes. So
Nice.
welcome in.
I'm the outsider here tonight.
You're what?
I'm the outsider here tonight.
I know, right? Yes, because usually we've had a lot of people from your neck of the woods on the show, and a lot of people that you've personally known. So it's been fabulous. But yeah, it's fun I've been having a hard time getting Minnesota researchers on. Something about the screen, I think, because you say it's a radio show and they're like, okay, and then you say it's a video and they're like,
Stage fright.
Yes, exactly.
We all have our hats on tonight.
Oh, well, there you go.
Our little safety protection.
You what?
Our little safety protectors,
There you go. There you go. So welcome in on this cold day in Minnesota. It's below zero here. I'm pretty sure it is up where you guys are too.
Absolutely.
Where are you guys from?
We're from St. Cloud, Minnesota, where it's about 3 below zero right now.
Yep. Yeah, pretty close to us too. I mean, my pipes froze last night. My daughter and I had the pipe stuff out and we were getting them all insulated. So yeah, it's starting already for sure. So, well, you guys, go ahead, Tommy.
How does that affect you guys when it gets this cold up there? Like, does this really put a kibosh on what you're doing, or do you stay with it, or what have you?
Well, so with the paranormal part, we're always out regardless of the temperature or the weather. Well, unless it was a really bad blizzard. But as far as going out for Squatch, we typically don't go out when it's 20 below, but we have.
We have.
And it's kind of fun. It's really
you dress for the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been there in Minnesota.
Right. We've been out when it was 20 below more than once. So whether it's an investigation for spirits or for Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Yep.
Now, do you guys figure that Bigfoot hibernates or anything like that, or do you think he's always active?
I mean, personally, I don't think he hibernates. I think there are certain times of the year where you would, see them more often than not. But we've heard the whooping and whatnot on that 20 below night, and some wood knocks.
Right.
So I think they're around all the time. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have a lot of different feelings on it. Generally, Mark and I are under the impression that these potentially are multi-realm species of sort, potentially, because we've run into situations where they're right on top of us and we don't see them. We're hearing the knocks, we're hearing the sounds, the voices, and we search the area and there's not a track to be found. But they were right. Something was right there. Yeah. Yeah. For example, the last time we went out and we really got some really good calls that time. And we went on maps. We selected an area that we knew is potentially a Bigfoot area, or at least nearby. And it was miles and miles and miles of logging roads that are quite in areas where there's no population of houses or anything. And we just stuck 2-person teams every half mile all the way down that stretch of logging road. And and we started running recorders and taking turns doing maybe some knocks. Mainly, I don't even think we did any calls that night. We just did a little knocking to see if we could get some responses, and we got a great series of Bigfoot calls. But the funny thing about it is we heard it on one location, and the group that was just south of us, who we thought would be right on top of it, never even heard it. So, I mean, similar to a supernatural paranormal type event where, you know, sometimes I feel the calls can be directed towards certain groups or certain individuals, potentially.
Mhm.
And, you know, I love that idea of spreading out that many people. And I saw that on your video, and you said you had 2 people like every whatever for a
Yep.
ways. What a great idea. It's so much better than having a bunch, you know? Although for us girls, you know, we kind of have safety in numbers.
Safety
So,
in numbers.
I kind of think just 2 of us maybe isn't a good idea to be out there alone. But, you know what I mean? I love the idea, though.
So one thing we do too is we go out and scout ahead of time in the daylight.
Mhm.
And after we do the map reconnaissance, then we hit the trails and see where we want to set up. And pretty much follow that when we go out at night. It just makes it easier.
Everybody's at least seen the traffic area at least once. You know, we give them the freedom to move off of their seating area, so to speak, and go out 100 yards. They can go 100 yards any direction and still not bother the next team.
Mhm.
You know, so we give them that little bit of lead room, so to speak, but at the same time, it spreads us out enough that
Yep.
we can really reach out and, you know, and then we might go back and focus on an area that had, and that's what we did. We came
Yep.
back to the hottest area after the end of the night, and then we did an audio session at our hottest hotspot
Mhm.
and had great success with that too.
Mhm.
Because we
Now,
always
are you
run it
guys most
normal.
are you guys mostly like in the woods? Or are you I mean, are you way in the deep woods, or are you on the edge of town, or where are you at mostly?
Well, the Chippewa National Forest, where we spend a lot of our time, it's heavily wooded, but yet there are a lot of logged out areas, and so we'll mix it up. Sometimes we'll get on the edge of a clearing of a logged out area, and we'll do a call out on that area, knowing that that call will follow the logged out area for miles, and it'll really reach out and touch somebody, and in turn you can hear as well. But the last one we were talking about there, that was in the middle of the woods, not a house within a mile of it. You know, we were really out there on that one.
Yeah,
And is
the Chippewa Forest, Tommy. I mean, we've done he said, she said shows from up there. When I've been up there, we've done some stuff because that's like our haunting ground too. We love it up there. And there's a lot of wetlands up there too. There's a lot of wetlands. There's the water sources. There's everything that we look for. And you know, Tommy, one of the times that we were up there, remember when we found all those structures on top of structures on top of tree bows
Yes.
and Stanicum stars, and you were live somewhere, and we were live up there.
Mhm.
That was in the Chippewa Forest. Just saying. So
Yes.
it's a good place.
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
what do you find like have you ever had like an aggressive encounter?
We've had rocks thrown at us, or over us. I mean, that's about as much.
Yeah, you
as
can
it
hear them
gets.
going through the treetops on one side. And that was a call-in where we were called into a specific area. And as we sat there in the middle of the night, that one, we stayed up really late at that one.
We did, yeah.
And you could just hear, and they weren't even that big of stones, but those stones, you could just hear them shooting through the leaves over the top of us. And, but not, we've never ran into anything. We did have one case where it was just a coincident case. We just happened to be out in the woods. Wasn't even a Squatch event per se. We were just out doing some other business, some hunting and stuff. And one of the guys went back to one of the spots and sat for a while, and something came up out of the swamp and started screeching and knocking, and it surrounded him like on 2-3 sides. And he was just frightened, all he could be possibly frightened, because he felt like it was not attacking him, but it was communicating with him.
Right.
And he knew it. And he said, if I wouldn't
Right.
have had, he was up there doing some hunting at the time. He said, if I wouldn't have had my rifle across my lap, he says, you would have seen me run by you. He said.
Well, so I was thinking of another time too, where it was just Russ and I out,
Yeah.
and we were doing a Facebook Live, which there's a funny part that comes out of that, I think. But as we're walking along this logging trail, we're hearing this knocking in a tree, and it's way high up there, and it's like it's just knocking. So we get over there, and I walk over to those trees, and I pulled my knife out, and I was tapping on the first tree just to see if that was a tree. And then I went, and then that wasn't it. So I went to the next one, and I started tapping on it, and all of a sudden my hair on the back of my neck went up. I got the chills, and there was something directly on the other side of the tree, and it felt like it was huge. And it ran off, and it sounded like it was 500 pounds, just crunching through, just running away from us. And so then we left, and we kept going on the trail, and you could hear it out there, out of sight, circling us. But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
And the crazy thing about this particular sighting is this thing ran at a 45 away from us, right about 35 yards in front of me. It's at dusk. I can still see pretty decent. This thing weighs 300 to 500 pounds. It's huge by the stomps of the feet on the ground as it's running away, you know?
Huge, yeah.
There's nothing there. It runs by me, no visual. It had no body.
Yep.
Whatever it
Yep.
was ran by, and it was nothing.
So the Facebook Live part, there was this lady typing in. She's like, once we said there's knocking and all that, she's like, "Get out of there fast!" or something like that. I just thought it was hilarious.
The audience was
And
freaking
we're like,
out.
no, we got to stick around for this.
But it was territorial because it circled around us as we stood on this spot. Mark took some birch bark, made a T on the spot. We walked down the trail, did not follow us. We came back to that and stood at that T where that birch bark was, and then it started circling us again when we came back, but it did not follow us down the trail.
Well, and the tree was knocking again when we came back up.
Yeah, so it had a little territorial area there that it was, but it did not try to frighten us. It ran, that incident, it ran from us.
Yeah.
Right.
Per se. I'm sure it didn't have to run from us, but
no.
Right.
But we're glad it did.
It had already accomplished that goal. You guys were already scared.
Well, it's
Yeah.
our audience at least. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the people watching the live that are like, "Oh my God, get out,
We're
get out,
freaked
get out."
out.
Yeah.
That'd have been Facebook gold.
It's out there somewhere.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about power lines? Like where the big power lines go through the forests. Do you think they use bat clearing to run through the woods?
I think there's a potential, but I think the ones we've noticed are the water ones more. So
Yeah.
the swamps that pass through, that call we got about 3 years ago, we went and investigated that one. That's the one where the pebbles were thrown over the top of us, and you could hear footsteps sound like they walked right up to you, but you never saw nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But on that one, they were following without a doubt. We looked through the maps and stuff, and all along that waterway, people were hearing things and picking up supernatural paranormal type activity. If they were near that watered area, like their cameras and stuff, and these are just hunters trying to use game cams, they're different tools, working on deer stands. We talked to a number of people along this waterway, and more than one group was having electronic issues in those areas. Batteries going dead.
Right, and when we're out and about, we're kind of in a general area. It's pretty large, but there's a lot of water around their lakes, and like you said before, the marshes, and so we don't see a lot of the big power lines out there where we're at. So
Yeah.
Now, did you guys ever get like when you're exploring a trackway, you get like one track and then that's it, or you get two tracks and then that's it.
We've had that.
Yep. Yeah, there was that one
Yeah.
one by the cabin where there's only, was it one?
Well, like
two
one
tracks?
one
Yeah.
track, literally one track.
Yeah, we've said, and Tommy, you found that too, where there might be just 1 foot, not even 2, just 1. You know,
Yep, all the time, all the time.
all the time.
And
Yeah.
I have to ask you guys too. Like, do you guys have any instances with Dogman or anything?
Man, we haven't run into the dog man that I know of.
Not per se
not
the
like
dog
seeing
man,
him.
but we run into a lot of, like I say, supernatural type invisible events. A
Mhm.
Yeah.
lot of those, especially in the last 3 years. It seems to be more and more
Yeah.
that we're running into these invisible, you hear the steps. One of the cases we've had happen a couple times now in this one area we go to, we'll see a flash of light like at treetop level, and all
Yep.
of a sudden something is following us about 50. It stays about 50 yards away, and we'll be walking on the trail or through the woods, and it's parallel with us.
Yeah, and if we stop, it stops. When we keep going, it
Yeah.
keeps going.
Yep.
You know, I've seen that happen in Pennsylvania here where I'm at too. Some people told me they had that happen to them specifically.
Well,
I had one that. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and doesn't it seem like if there's Squatch activity, the lights always happen too? You know, you always happen to see a few lights. I'm not saying they're flying saucers.
Some
I'm
type
saying
of
they're just lights.
flash. It's
Yes.
I think it's
And
the
sometimes
energy
they're
of
like,
them
and
coming into
sometimes
the
they're
realm.
like orbs, though, you guys. You know, we as paranormal investigators, we see some orbs that are true, like supernatural orbs, and some that are not. But odd that in the middle of the woods, if we're having activity, we'll see those orbs occasionally too, which is very cool, I think. I'm sure you've experienced it. Tommy, you have.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Oh
and
yeah.
So the one light, like Russ is talking about too, is even more than that. It's like it would be next to say a hillside where a car turns around, and it's
Mhm.
like that flashes through the trees, but there's no way a car is there because it's only
Right.
woods. So yeah, it's funky. I think
Yeah,
it's kind of neat.
it's cool.
I had a experience, my most recent one, and that was just this after the snow fell, probably early December, late November, somewhere in there. And it was during that big snow we had, one of the big snows we had up north. And I happened to be up north. And out of the blue, I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out and take a walk down that one trail. And it's probably about 10 o'clock at night. It had snowed 7 inches for sure. And just get this urge. I need to go take a walk. So I get out there and I start walking down this trail. And something different that's never happened to me before out there. As I walked along the trail, there was a breeze, like a wind, that would follow me as I walked. And about just not more than 10 feet in, it was knocking the snow off the trees as I walked along. When I stopped, it would stop. I'd walk again, and all
Ooh,
the snow
nice.
would keep falling out of the trees about 10 feet from me, walking parallel. And it was a breeze that would came through the trees and was walking right next to me. That was probably the craziest I've experienced this year.
Cool. That is really cool.
Is that the same trail we had where the tree was moving by itself? Like no other trees were. It's like
The first time that
the wind
happened,
was going shaking the tree, but
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
else was moving. Yeah.
where we saw the light flash,
Okay, yeah.
and then same trail. Yep.
Have you guys ever done anything with audio recorders? Have you ever heard Sasquatch chatter or anything like that out there?
Yeah, we picked up all the yelling, the whooping, but nothing like talking or anything.
Well, what we pick up is paranormal a lot of times.
We do.
So
Yeah.
we were out on one of our annual events, and some spears, potentially of an old cabin that was out there or something.
We were up at the tree, yeah. So we were
Yeah.
close to the cabin, yeah.
And they were actually saying Mark's name. They
Oh.
called out his name. They said, Mark. And he's like, hey, what? Because there was 2-3 other people there. And they're like, we didn't say anything. But 2 people heard them call out his name.
Yeah.
So we went back out there like 3-4 months later, walked out there, and as we were walking out to the spot again, Mark. They're calling out his name
kind of loudly through the woods. Yeah. So.
Wow.
So we always run into paranormal when we're out searching for Sasquatch. It's just a standard affair now. We always run into it.
Me do too.
And they will give you some patience too. The incident I told you where the guy was not getting attacked, but they were giving him a message that he was in a bad spot, and they were trying to let him know they didn't want him right in that spot. And I was sitting about 100 yards. I can hear all this going on. I'm about ready to run out there and help this guy. But I'm sitting there leaned up against a big old pine tree, and I'm getting these visions. And I don't know if it was coming from Bigfoot or from supernatural, maybe spirits. And they're telling me, they're showing me images of like burning a house or bulldozing the road up. So they wanted nothing more than to get rid of the traffic in that area. So they were showing me images of holes in the road all dug up so nobody could use the road anymore, and crazy stuff like that. They want privacy, and they want their spot to be more private.
Yeah. I can see that.
Wow.
And have you guys noticed that in the last couple of years, I know that you said you run into a lot of paranormal out in the woods too, but I mean, my goodness, now it seems to be like more so than ever. And it's like we're always finding like energy portals out there, which we used to find them occasionally, but now it's like every time we turn around, there's somebody, well, Josie or me or somebody is like, oh my God. They're just everywhere. And one of my friends said, well, Steph, the whole layer, between the living and the dead is just so rent open with all the people passing away that it's just open everywhere. And so all of this is, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like we run into this consistently for a while, so maybe that helps to ramp it up. But I think, the more we spend out there, all of us, just the more that it actually reveals itself. We're getting more and more in tune with everything. And but I mean, that's potentially a lot of, new spirits being added to the mix to make it, to ramp that up as well. So.
Yep.
And we're noticing even at investigations though, the number of voices and audio we're picking up at investigations really seems like it's increased in the last 2 years. Yeah. So I would definitely agree with what you're saying. It seems like it's a lot more vocal.
Yeah.
Very thin right now.
Yep. Absolutely. Tommy, what do you think about that as a non-paranormal investigator?
Well, I'm the newcomer to this, so do you do EVPs? I guess is that what you do?
We have a variety of types of things. We do EVPs. We use a number of different electronic devices to try to pick up speech, any type of speech or mind communication. And what we do at the investigation, we try to have at least 3 different types every single investigation, and we put all those pieces together and try to see how them puzzle pieces match. So we don't do just EVPs because that's not enough for us to say something is haunted. We want EVPs, we want digital recordings off of maybe some apps or some other PBS7s.
Even the video cameras.
And the video cameras pick up stuff. And we do meditation sessions. And, and we do many other things too. We try to take all of that and create multiple layers of evidence that truly proves a haunting.
Well, and we do that when we go out in the field for Sasquatch as well. I mean, we have the audio and the video, and we have all of that. We bring all that with us. So we always have a recorder running and cameras, and it's kind of what we do. We start something, we turn on at least the audio recorder, and just go from there.
Yep.
It's a lot of stuff to listen to, but it pays off.
That would be.
Oh, Tommy, you have no idea when you do a paranormal investigation how much stuff there is to go through. It's like you listen and you listen and you listen, and you might find something that's like 2 seconds and you're so excited. You know what I mean? But yeah, but it's just, oh yeah, it's crazy. It's not like it is on TV, what they do on TV.
No, that's because they have a big staff.
It's not, just boom, boom, boom. No. But Sasquatch investigation is kind of the same thing, right? Or cryptid investigation, because we use all the same stuff. Do you guys ever bring like infrared cameras out there with you and heat signature cameras? What are they called again?
Thermal cameras.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah,
use
that's
thermal
good stuff.
cameras. We have what we call quads, a security system, and we use that to set up like a perimeter mixed in with some game cameras, and we'll, so it depends upon the situation though.
Yep.
And we run into 1 minute we're out on a lake in canoes, trying to get to a spot. And the next time we were on the edge of a cemetery, the next time we're out in the middle, so every situation is a little different.
Yeah.
But spreading ourselves out a little bit and trying to identify a current hotspot seems, it really is a big help to trying to tackle down and get the information you're looking for is by spreading out initially and then zoning in and coming together.
Yep. So yeah, but a lot of the same things apply. And I know Tommy and I are kind of that opinion too, that Sasquatch is multidimensional, as I think a lot of the cryptids. I think they're all from different dimensions, to be honest.
It's hard to explain it otherwise. It really truly is.
But then how do you explain, now you guys have talked to many people up in northern Minnesota, witnesses. Have you heard the story about some guy was sitting up in the deer hunting, and he was up in a tree stand. It was like sunset, it was getting dark. He thought it was a deer, took a shot, got out of his tree stand. He claims it wasn't a deer, that it was a Bigfoot. And he got all shook up, got it back into town, told the sheriff. The sheriff came out, called the FBI. The feds came out. Helicopter came and took that body away, and they never saw. Have you heard that story?
I hadn't heard that one.
I haven't heard that one either.
Oh, I have heard it numerous times, told in different ways, but the same context up in northern Minnesota. So don't you wonder, did it really happen? And if so, what really was it? And was it a real creature? Was it a real physical being? Or I don't know. It's kind of bizarre.
Potentially, I think there's times when, even if you're multidimensional, that at certain times that you are a physical a species of some sort, even if it's for a short period of time. And that's when, you make the tracks and people see you and this and that's going on. But then other times, not so much, because, they're out there, they're making these tree configurations and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's purpose behind a lot of this, and it's a physical purpose to guide themselves in paths and whatever they're all doing. And so at times they obviously are physical, and other times they are not.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of my
I agree with that.
Yeah, a couple of my favorite interviews from up there. The one was a lady, she was riding by this lake, and there was this, she saw the Bigfoot standing on the other side of the lake. She thought it was about 7 foot tall, I think. And she sat there and watched it. And then she took her horse and rode around the lake to where it was. Of course, it's gone by that time. But she got the really musky scent, and her horse was really bothered, So that was kind of neat. And then the other lady was driving on the road, just to one of the highways up there, and it actually came out in front of her car and walked past the side of her car. And I think how many years it took her to drive that road again?
Yeah.
She did drive that road for like 20 some years.
Yeah.
I knew.
Scared.
Yeah. So,
I know a few roads like that.
Yep. So.
Well, and I mean, there have been some roads that we've been down that I go back, but I remember saying at the time, I am scared to death and it is time to leave. And I'm not scared to say that. I mean, it is what it is,
Right.
Tommy, do you have?
It's a very interesting topic that, you can't help but get into a group and find somebody that has an interest in cryptid, whether it's current or historic, hearing the stories, like you say, There are so many stories out, and
Mm,
we maybe get an actual call
mhm.
for help or for clarification, maybe only about once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we absolutely are enthusiastic and excited about when those calls come in.
Yep.
For sure. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it really is. I mean, I just had a call from somebody who saw, I mean, it was a couple of months old, so it wasn't like it happened yesterday, but some trucker was driving down the road up by Reamer, Minnesota, and the Sasquatch came right across the road. I guess he was a truck driver and he didn't want to talk to anybody. So it was a friend of his that this was third hand, but they said, see, step, they're here. I said, oh, I have no thought that they're not there, you know? But, so people do pass things along all the time, which is fun. And I know, Tommy, they tell you out in Pennsylvania,
all
Cryptovania, all the time.
the time. But like I'm the one person that makes no bones about it, that I believe everything, and that oh yeah, I sure hear about them. Oh, like you guys, what's your do you guys actually go and investigate road crossings anywhere, or not too much?
Not too much, not a lot of road crossings per se. Like I say,
Yeah.
on our annual get-togethers, we really try to spread out and just find out where they're at right now, because they're not always right in the same area. They kind of move around a little bit, but there are some hot spots that we have that we are trying to identify. Are there routes coming in and out of this hotspot area that they're using to travel and different things? And
Yeah.
so one of the areas, yeah, we're trying to dial in on their patterns and different
And
things.
and do you find that most of them follow waterways? Which I guess everything in Minnesota is in a waterway, I guess.
That is true, Tommy.
Yeah, that is, I mean, we did see a pattern of that on more than one occasion where the waterways are an important, either that or the water is blocking off a section of land and keeping other people from getting to it as very readily. And inside that
Yes.
blocked off piece of land is where maybe, they have more of of maybe what we might call their family type setting area, where they may spend the majority of their time.
And there's been plenty of reports I've read about road crossings that are. We even had one near us. It was a smaller town, just a little northwest, and a lady saw one across the road in front of her. So yeah, there's a lot of that, but we just typically are in the woods right now.
Yeah, because a lot of the cases that we took in over the years, where we go in and we just interview somebody, they're really kind of random. We've interviewed people dating back to 30 years ago. They had a incident, and so we've interviewed so many different people, and a lot of those are kind of random occurrences. Whereas now that we're doing the investigating ourselves versus listening to their stories, we're seeing more patterns.
Yeah.
But I never pulled any patterns out of all the stories I've heard over the last 15 years. I never saw a pattern.
Except that they're everywhere.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, I had a case way down in just west of the cities. A young kid came out of his house. They lived on a farm. And he's like, Dad, what's standing by the shed? There was a giant hairy thing standing there looking in their shed at about 6:30 in the morning when he was getting ready to go to school. And the kid swears up and down it was Sasquatch. There's no other explanation for it.
And I don't doubt it. I mean, when we were in Humbird, so Tommy, we all did this giant Para Expo paranormal extravaganza actually in October in Humbird, Wisconsin, and there's a lot of cryptid activity there. I'm going to go back. Chris, who's the bar manager there, we interviewed her for Dogman. She told us her Dogman story.
Yep.
Yes. So I can't wait to get down there and talk to her about that, because there's a lot of cryptids down that way too. So, but there's a lot of rivers and a lot of streams down there too. So all waterways.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is like the strangest thing that you guys have investigated, like gnomes or dogmen or Sasquatch, or what's it been?
Well, I think personally the fact that we are running more and more into these invisible type species. That to me is odd. What we're telling you is maybe 2 or 3 stories, maybe out of 20. I mean, I could sit and talk, we could talk the subject for a long time, but the fact that these invisible species are becoming so much more prevalent out in the woods, and so many more hunters are like, last year, not this last year, but the one before, I had some guys come up to me and say, we've been hearing things walking up to our deer stands and we don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? I'm like, okay, well, if I knew that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it is, I mean, it's not just us out there looking. This is the average hunters and people out enjoying wildlife and walking through the woods and trails, and they're running across this unexplainable stuff. And it's just becoming, just happening so much more. And that's what I think is the biggest thing that we'd like to explain. Why is it happening so often? What's changing in the universe that's making these, whatever they are, are they all Bigfoot? Are they, I mean, we've done series on fairies.
Oh, yeah.
We've run across a lot of unusual little flying things at investigations in different places. We have a bunch of clips of videos of stuff that people can tell Mark and I and our team all day long and all night that wow, that was just a bug. I'm telling you, it wasn't a bug.
Nope.
We were there.
Right.
And
Right.
we've when we identify something crazy like this, we go back in and we're like, okay, we need to identify what this thing is flying around.
Mm-hmm.
And we've found and retaped these with video and found them again.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through that one house and we threw all their clothes on the beds and everything, and we did everything. We pretty near emptied out a closet trying to find these flying potential bugs that are flying around, and they had to have been huge. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There was no bugs. There wasn't a bug in sight.
Well,
But
fairies are everywhere.
Yeah, they were. I know we've run across them a number of times, and yeah, it's never a time to get bored in the supernatural.
How about little people? Have you guys seen little people?
Haven't
You experienced them?
Haven't seen them, no.
I have
How you do?
seen once or twice in the woods things that I could not explain that appeared to be little people.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go to identify them, and literally, I think, Sasquatch plays the exact same camouflage game.
Yep.
Where they're going to stand in front of an old dark stump that looks a lot like them. And 1 minute it's Sasquatch standing there, and you think you see it, and the next minute it's a dark stump. And you're like, oh, is that just me? But the little people do the same thing sometimes.
They do. And one of my really good mentors, Chief Breon, told me when you think you're seeing a squatch or a little person, you look with your peripheral vision and never look straight on. Right. He said, because I told him what I saw up in the woods. I said, I think it was a little person, but I don't really know. And he said, well, describe. And I described it to him to a T. Oh, little person, Steph, you need to look through that peripheral vision. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So always look through that peripheral vision rather than straight on, because you'll never see them. So they say.
I've always wished I was an artist, because I would have loved to have painted some of the things I've seen in my life.
Right.
So because I can't explain it verbally with any decency. Then, if I could draw a picture of something, it would be really awesome.
Yeah, I agree. So do you want to plug your website since we're here on this show?
Well, certainly, we certainly would. The Search for Sasquatch that you mentioned is inside of the Search for Spirits, and it's www.search4Spirits, but it's all one word. And we've had that. That's a site that's been around for many, many years. Mm-hmm. We do have a sister organization as well, because we are a Christian organization, and that's www.search4heaven.com. And those are our two main functions as an organization.
Do you have a book or anything like that?
Well, I mean, a lot of our material is on the website. We should have books because we've got enough material.
I've been thinking about
Right?
it.
Mark's been thinking about it.
Yep.
That's right.
But like I say, we've been pretty busy last year. Well, we're out at least 46
It was
times.
48.
48 times we were out on the road going somewhere. And over, it was like 36 or something were just home investigations where we go in and we figure out what's going on and we help the people remove the spirits or the energies out of their homes so they find some peace. And we're really busy because we do get a lot of calls from other teams to assist with that. So we're kind of bouncing around all over. But that's what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But we absolutely love our annual Search for Sasquatch event. And it's so popular. We're thinking about having a second one just so that we can,
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Everyone.
so we can get more people involved because but at the same time, there's an element of trying to maintain the protections
Yes.
of these home areas
Yep.
for Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Because if you divulge and break this down,
Yeah.
you kind of destroyed the relationship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that relationship is why we keep getting more and more evidence and information as a team, because we're literally creating a relationship
Mm-hmm.
with that family group or whoever, and they trust you a little bit more.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're getting rock knocks,
Yeah.
knocks on the trees and some vocals.
Mhm.
Like I say, those vocals weren't just heard by everybody. They were only heard by my 2-person team out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Interesting, right? It's like paranormal investigation. When you hear something or your K2 meter goes off, but the person next to you maybe
Doesn't.
won't have anything.
Right.
How
And
bizarre.
that's so common
Yeah.
that they can direct their energy directly at one person and nobody else can hear.
No. Not
It
at all.
was so. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say we had a time where the video camera picked up a bunch of these crazy noises. The homeowner or he was renting was sleeping right next to that. Russ and I were upstairs. The house was completely quiet, and our digital recorders didn't pick it up. Just that video camera, and it was just a crazy bunch of noises and like babies crying, clocks ticking, a bunch of
Fax
weird
machines
things.
running, parties from 30 years ago,
Yeah.
coming back to life in
Like
the
little
environment.
dinosaurs roaring. Yeah, it was some crazy audio that we
Crazy.
picked up. So it's interesting how it isolates to one point at times.
Yeah. It's nuts. Tommy, I got to get you out paranormal investigating sometime.
You were going to
I
ask
don't
the
want to do all
question?
that. Listen. Oh, I was just gonna say there was a guy on my team that he was forever getting harassed by everything there was. No matter what there was that was happening, it was going to happen to him, and it was. We had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, we had a fella like that too on our team. Great fella, offline for this per se, but he didn't have a good grounding, and we couldn't bring him anywhere without him getting
Oh
into
my
trouble.
gosh.
Oh yeah.
Getting scratched or this and that,
Choked
and choked, and
And the
we're like, oh my
PID.
goodness, we're gonna have to stop taking you because
Yep.
we can't guarantee your safety anymore.
Right.
And he's no longer. I gave him a final clearing, cleared him out of the business, and he's kind of moved on for now.
Yeah.
Doing got out of the paranormal.
Yep.
But you never really get out. Once you're in, you're
you're
in at some point.
It's like the CIA.
Yes. Yes. Remember Nick Redfern when he would talk about all the men in black and the women in black and all that stuff, Tommy, when we had him on the show a few times? Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Same thing with paranormal. So, well,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, you know what? We need to have you guys on again like in a year. So let's see what we can find in the next year and see if we come up with some really cool stuff and we can all get together and kind of maybe share. Wouldn't that be fun?
Sounds
That would
great.
be awesome. I'm sure there'll be another whole year full of experiences to talk about.
Every
Well,
year
we
is
really
crazy.
ought to try to get together somewhere. Just pick out a neutral spot
Yes.
that isn't our home ground. Search spots
Right.
and just try a new area and
Yeah.
get the two groups together.
Yeah. I think that would be a riot. Tommy, I keep telling you, you need to come to Minnesota so we can do this, you know?
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. Well, you guys, thank you for being on the show. I had a fun,
Yes.
Tommy. I know you
Yep.
did too.
Yes,
Nice
nice
to
to
meet you
meet
guys.
you.
Good to meet you.
Oh, it was a blast. Anytime.
Thank you.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys. And we will talk soon and have a fabulous
Absolutely.
evening. Thanks
All
for
right, you
joining.
too. Happy New
Thanks.
Year.
Bye-bye.
Happy New
See
Year.
you, Steph. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Black clouds, no sun, sleet and rain. Wait for the wind to come in and join the game. White fire fills the sky, thunder and flame. Storm riders flying by, and they bring the pain. When the lightning comes down, when the lightning comes down, when the lightning comes down, it's gonna burn this mother down. People try and run, flee in vain, climb over anyone gets in their way. And when the lightning comes down, when the lightning comes down, when the lightning comes down, it's gonna burn this mother down. Yeah. Told you this day would come, called your name. Hell, I told everyone it's end of game. And when the lightning comes down, when the lightning comes down, when the lightning comes down, it's gonna burn this whole